Hi, I'm Jean with Kept in Stitches, and this is Stitches, the newest little member to the Stitching Cottage. And it is time for, what time is it time for, Stitches? Can you tell me? It is time for our Tip Demo Wednesday. Only a day late. Yes, we're late, aren't we? So we're doing this on Thursday. But what do we have for you today? We are going to be showing you how I prepare, lay out, layer, and pin baste a small quilt to get it ready for hand quilting. I know there are several of you that already know how to do this, but there are many that have asked questions about that. So I'm just going to do a quick little demonstration showing you how the way that I layer and baste with pins, preparing the little quilt for hand quilting. And Stitches is tired because she's been busy running around in the Stitching Cottage. And her tip for all those little fur babies, again, is, do you have a tip? It's to be a good little girl, and you get to have loads of fun with your mommy out in the Stitching Cottage. And she will even let you play on her lap and watch so you can learn to guide the fabric along and push it through the sewing machine. You've seen her do that in a short. So let's get right to it. Enough of the introductions with Stitches. We'll let her down to play. And I'm back. And I am also going to have to move the camera down a little so you can actually see what I'm doing. So I am going to, and Stitches is walking on the bottom of it. I'm sorry. We'll move her in just a second. But I am going to put this down so you will be able to see what I am doing. And I am using my 8.5-inch ruler by 24 inches. I have my little, this is a container that was for Parmesan cheese. It's what I keep some of my curved safety pins in. I use the small curved safety pins. I have my blue tape for taping it down, and of course I have my rotary cutter, and I have my batting, my quilt, and my backing. And my little quilt, which is this right here, measures 27 inches by 27 inches square, and I like to have ample room around that so that it fits nicely in the hoop without the batting and the backing being in the way of the actual part of that you want to quilt by the way it is positioned in the hoop. So I always add an extra 4 inches all the way around, which means that I would be cutting my backing and my batting at 35 by 35. Well, to do that you need a whole yard of fabric. So instead of cutting that 1 inch off, I'm going to trim mine at 36 by 36. So we'll get our top out of the way. And since the batting is laying here nicely already, I will trim that first, which I have a piece of scrap leftover batting here. That is perfectly fine for the hand quilting that I am going to be doing. But it is, it's the right width. It's measures 36 inches wide already, but it is about 76 inches long. So I am going to trim that first to the, excuse me, sorry, to the 36 by 36 inches. And I'm going to square that up as I am doing that on my mat. We're going to bring that down a little ways. I'm just going to lay my ruler on the 36-inch mark, making sure that it's all straight and square. And then I'm just going to apply enough pressure to trim that excess off. And now I have my batting that is squared to the 36 by 36. And we're going to lay that right off to the side here, because next I need to remember this is a yard of fabric. So it's already 36 inches wide, long, whichever you want to call it. But because the width of fabric is 44 inches, I need to trim 8 inches off of that. So to do that, I am going to open this up and make sure that I trim off the correct side, which is my length. I don't want to trim it off the width. That is 36, or I won't have enough. So I am turning this and I am folding that up, making sure that it is still square. And I don't have to cut the selvage off because that's going to be trimmed, so we're not worried about that. So we are going to lay that right here and make sure that it's on a line so it's square, and I'm going to also trim that now to the 36 inches by putting a straight line of the ruler on the folded edge of the fabric and lining it up on the 36-inch line on the mat. And as my little sign up here says, measure twice, cut once. I'm making sure I have it folded the right way so that I'm not making a mistake in cutting this. And we have that little extra to put with my proper scraps to use for something else later. And we will set that off to the side. And we start by laying our backing down, and it is going to be laid down with the wrong side up. We want the right side down, as that will be the back of our quilt. And on the surface that I'm using, I will be doing what fits on this surface and then moving it up. This is the binding already along with the quilt to be able to have, when I'm finished quilting it, the binding's all ready to be sewn on. So we are going to take now and we are going to tape this down so that it does not move while we are pinning the rest of the layers. And to do that, we just stick a piece of tape up in the corner. Make sure we get it long enough the first time. Needed a little longer than that to fit across there. But we're going to tape that right down to our mat. And we're going to make sure that it is squared up also. And then I'm going to tape the other end, making sure that it is taut but not stretched. I'm going to take that right there, and then I'm going to stick a piece of tape in the middle also. If I was doing this on a table, I would be using clamps instead of the tape. And there. And then we are going to put a piece of tape also on the sides so that doesn't move and shift on us either. And we're doing that on both sides. So now that we have that taped, we are going to take our batting next, and we are going to make sure that that is centered the same. They're both 36 by 36. So we can just lay that right on top of our backing. And we're just going to take with our hands and spread that out. And I'm just going to put a little piece of tape at each top of the corners on this. I don't need to tape it as well as the backing, but I don't want it to move either while I am doing this. So we've got that all secured and squared up and ready. And now the next thing to do is to center our quilt top. And I can pretty much tell where the center is on here. Normally you would go ahead and you would fold it. And I know by looking down here, I can see that I have plenty still left. And if I wanted to be precise, I could take my ruler, one of my smaller rulers up here, and I could measure, and I know that that should be about 4 inches from the edge, and that is how I would know that it is centered. And I'm going to take and I'm going to smooth that out. I have already pressed the quilt top and the backing, so they don't have any wrinkles, any folds, anything like that in it. And I have trimmed the threads, any that may be sticking out where the seams were stitched together, or have lots of threads or frayed ends on the back. Those have all been trimmed before doing this. And now we are going to start pinning. And while we do this is we pin from the inside center out always. That is the way we go, so that it stays square and everything stays nice and flat and square as we pin. And the quickest way to do this is to just never close your pins when you're done. These are all open in here, so I don't have to open them while I'm doing this. So I'm just going to shake. Sorry about the noise. But I'm going to shake a bunch of the pins out onto my quilt top, so that they are all laying there ready for me, and set that off to the side. And of course, you're going to start at the center. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a pin right in that center. And because it's a curved pin, it automatically comes up when I push on that, and I just set my finger underneath that and close it. Some people will leave their pins open, close them all at the end. It's easy to forget one and leave one open that way, so I always close mine as I put them in. And what I want is approximately a hand's width apart on my pins, and that keeps the layers from shifting as you are quilting. So you can just, take and you're kind of smoothing it out, so you lay your hand there and you know that your next pin is going to be that hand width apart. And you stick another pin in. And when you are placing your pins according to the design of your quilt, you want to think about how you're going to be quilting. So if you can place that pin so that it's the most out of the way for your quilting pattern, you want to keep that in mind while you're pin basting it also. And I'm just going to go straight up this way first, from the center out to the edge. Not stretching the fabric, but making sure that it is flat and square. And you always want to make sure that you have pins all the way around the edge. So we will place one there also. So then next I'm going to go from the center out this way. And it doesn't matter which direction first. And I'm going to place the pins in that direction. There is a little tool, I didn't get it out, that some people use. It is made for closing your pins. Some people have a problem with it hurting their hands as they do that. I don't have that problem, so I have the tool. I don't use it. I find it faster just to be able to use my finger to push that up. But it is available. It has a little wooden handle, and it has kind of, looks like a little twirly screw on the end of it, and it just grabs your end of your pin, and you're able to close it with that instead. And now I'm going to go this direction. Stand to the side so you can still see as I do that. And see, it saves time because I didn't close my pins. I left them open as I take them out of the quilt and put back in the container, so I don't have to sit here and open up the pins as I come to them. They're already ready to place in the quilt. And the reason I use the small ones is because your fabric will shift on those pins. So if you use a large pin, it has that much more room for your quilt and the layers to shift. And you don't want that, because that's how you can get the little bulky spaces or a fold in your fabric on the back of your fabric while you're quilting. So now I have gone this way and I have gone this way on this hat, and I'm going to do this whole portion before I move it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go diagonally this way from the center out. All the way to the corner. And you can see it's not taking very much time at all. Of course, this is a small quilt, but you see how quickly this can be done. And if this was bigger, you would still just be working on the area that you have the space for, and then you undo your tape and you move it. I could pin a king size quilt in this area if I wanted to, using this method. So I've got it that way. Now I'm going to go this diagonal. And I normally would be turned this way, but I'm not going to turn my back to you. So I will go this direction instead. It's a little bit backward and awkward, but it is doable. And you will find, if you are purchasing the pins to do this, you want to get about double the amount of what you think you will need, because it uses a lot more pins than you think. And if you're like me, you normally also have more than one quilt going at a time, so you will still have some of your pins left in one of the quilts that you've already basted for hand quilting, and therefore need more for the one that you are getting ready to baste. And there we have that, all those directions now, and all I need to do is I need to look, and I need to come just in between those sections a little bit so that we have it well pinned down. And because this is taped down, nothing is moving, so I'm not getting any puckers on the back of it as I do this. And I'm also smoothing with my hand as I put the pins in. Pin's a little out of the way there because I need to get this section up here a little bit. If you have a larger quilt and you have a quilt buddy, this is a fun thing to do together. You can be working on one half while they're working the other direction, and that will cut your time of basting down in half. So just like a little quilting bee, ask a friend, you have a quilt you need basted, and if you both have one that needs to be basted, you can help each other out and get the work done in half the time. Or just put on a pot of tea, have a cake or a pie or something sweet fixed, and invite them over and let them have fun helping them. So I have this half of the quilt done, and I'm not going to pin the other half, but I'm going to show you how you would then do that. All you're going to do is you are going to remove your tape on your layers. And you could reuse that tape if you want to, but it's just easier as you're taking it off to roll it up in your hand and get rid of it. And I believe I have one more piece over here. So I've removed all of the tape, except for this one little one I missed up there. And now what I am going to do is I'm just going to carefully take this edge, fold it to that middle, and I'm going to slide it all the way up so that I'm at this end. And I'm going to smooth this layer out. And then I will take my tape. I want to make sure that that back is taut, which I'm smoothing that with my hand. And I'm going to tape that down the same way I did the top. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tape that edge as well. And then I'm going to tape in the middle of that. The other portion up here is already pinned, so I don't have to worry about taping that end. If it was on a table that I had room, I would be putting a clamp up there. But with it being small like this, it's going to be just fine. So there, we have it taped down again. Everything is smoothed out. All I have to do now is do the same as I did on the top. I would come down this way, and I would come out this way, and I would do my angles. And it would all be pinned and ready to go. And that is how I layer my backing, my batting, and my quilt top, and pin baste it to have it ready for hand quilting. And I'm going to bring you back up here so that we can see each other again. And if you have any questions about how I did that, feel free to ask in the comments. I will help in any way that I can. I hope that you have enjoyed this little demonstration on how I layer and pin baste my quilts for hand quilting. And have a great evening. And thank you for welcoming Stitches into the cottage as well. She's really getting adjusted and really does love it out here, and we love her. So everyone, have a great evening. Thank you for watching me. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button below. I'm getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, and I would love to hit that mark by my 1-year anniversary of being on YouTube, which is February 14th. So if you like what you've seen, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications for when I go live or drop other videos, and I will see you again soon. And in the meantime, remember, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye, everyone.